As a true crime enthusiast, there's nothing more frustrating than the thought that someone's life was taken away under dubious circumstances, and the answers remain hidden. Tamla Horsford, Ellen Greenberg, and Angela Tremonte's cases come to mind. To this day, their families are still seeking truth, closure, and more importantly, justice. Sadly, the story surrounding Regis Paquet's death will leave you wondering what really happened and if anyone will ever be held accountable.
We are here peacefully. We come in peace. Please keep the peace. Lead with love. And remember, justice for Regis.
Torontonians are livid. A 29-year-old woman by the name of Regis Paquet died soon after coming into contact with police. On the evening of Wednesday, May 27, 2020, police received 3 urgent and extremely frantic calls from Regis, her mom Claudette, and her brother Regs Kirchinski, respectively. The young woman suffers from epileptic seizures, and they often cause her pre-existing mental health condition to worsen. She and Regs had gotten into a fight again, but this time a knife was involved. Bottles were thrown. Claudette tells the dispatcher, "I'm done and I want them both out of my house." When the dispatcher inquires as to whether or not an ambulance is needed, Claudette says the following: "Yeah, I guess somebody's injured. I don't know. My daughter had a seizure this morning and this is how basically it all started. He knows to leave her alone. But now she's calling me all kinds of names, calling me a bitch and everything else. So I don't want her. I want the police to literally take her out of my house." The call is coded as a domestic incident. Within a few minutes, police arrive at the scene, 100 Hyde Park Avenue. It's a high-rise, subsidized apartment building, and they ask everyone, including Reese's children, to evacuate the premises. Upon entry, authorities find the distressed young woman on the balcony. Just a few moments later, she would be pronounced dead. Police allege that she fell from the 24th floor. The trouble is that Regis is terrified of heights, and she didn't really struggle with ideation. Her cousin, an aspiring rapper by the name of Rockaworld, is convinced that something nefarious happened in that apartment.
My cousin's been on the floor over an hour. The police murdered my cousin, black female. They threw her off the top of the building.
The police killed my daughter, came in my apartment and shoved her off the balcony and told CP24 not to come here, that it's a... But the police killed her.
There are so many discrepancies. For one, Peter Kirchinski, Regis's father, claims that police did not initially find his daughter on the balcony. She was actually in the hallway and words had been exchanged between she and one of the police officers. She was even pushed by one of them. His daughter had made her way back to the apartment in order to use the bathroom. And once relatives were asked to leave their unit and Regis was alone with the men in black, his daughter yelled her final words, "Mom, help, Mom, help." Claudette, the victim's mother, asserts that she wanted her daughter to be sent to CAMH, a center for mental health and addiction. This was supposed to be more of a wellness check, and qualified professionals should have been sent to the address. Instead, Regis was handled like a criminal. Rumors circulate that in an attempt to get away from officers, Regis tried to leap onto a neighbor's unit. She fails to latch onto the rail, and that's the alleged cause of her death. But no one is certain, and this is all hearsay. On June 10th, 6 police officers and 7 civilian witnesses would later be questioned, and surveillance cameras at 100 Hyde Park Avenue would be reviewed by the Special Investigations Unit. The following day, the press grilled Mark Saunders, police chief, about the incident.
Thank you very much, Chief. I'm sorry, I don't know if I missed this. There was a bit of a cutting out in your feed. Was there a knife involved in this case?
The call was for assaults and knives were involved. Knives were stated by at least 2 of the 3 people that called.
And was mental health mentioned at all in those calls?
There was talk. I don't want to speak to mental health, but what I will say is that that there were seizures were discussed.
Okay, and could I also quickly ask, I noticed that the SIU release today mentioned that 4 of the 5 witness officers had spoken to the SIU. I'm wondering if you know whether one of them has chosen not to provide evidence to the SIU.
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. From the moment that this investigation started, the Toronto Police Service was actively and overtly involved in participating to the fullest of their abilities. There is not one officer that is not anxious to say and give all the testimony that they can regarding the circumstances that happened that evening, and they have cooperated. So 4 of the 5 are done. The 5th, I believe, is going in today, and the only reason why all 5 are not done is strictly logistical reasons, absolutely nothing else. These officers want an opportunity for the public to understand exactly what happened, for the family to understand exactly what happened, and for everybody to understand exactly what happened. So we are hoping that this is an opportunity, that this investigation is expedited. The community is anxiously awaiting what the truth is, as well as we are.
As you can see, Saunders provided little to no information. I'm sure that the Kirchinskis were beside themselves after watching that. Losing a family member is one of the toughest experiences anyone can face in life, but losing them under unusual circumstances adds an extra layer of complexity to the grieving process. Regis was unique. As a child, she partook in Ukrainian dance and excelled as a gymnast. Although she was plagued with crippling disorders, she always maintained a level of optimism. Every morning, she would text her siblings that she loved them. She was such an integral part of the family. During her memorial, 29 doves were released to represent the number of years she was alive. On Twitter, hashtag Justice for Regis is trending all over Canada. Regis is part of not one, but 2 marginalized groups, Black and Indigenous. As progressive as Toronto may appear, both groups disproportionately face negative interactions with police.
Decades of mistrust between the Black community and the police. That this feels like a broken record that continues to happen over and over again. That we are terrified that our children will leave our homes and go out, and that instead of being protected, the police are supposed to serve and protect us, that our children are disproportionately dying at the hands of the police. It's up to the city council, the mayor, and our city councilors to hold the Toronto Police Services accountable. They're the ones that fund the Toronto Police Services. We spend $1 billion on the police services. They have anti-Black racism policies that must be followed by the police services. That's who we need to have held accountable and make sure that these things do not happen any longer.
The public is so outraged by this strange story that within days of Regis's inexplicable death, 2 GoFundMe campaigns dedicated to the late woman raised a total of $400,000. The family quickly retained the services of high-powered attorney Nia Singh. They're determined to get to the bottom of their loved one's death. They also arranged another autopsy to be performed. Now, there are several reasons that Regis didn't receive the proper care on that fateful night. For one, Claudette claimed that she wanted her daughters sent to a facility for those suffering with mental health issues, but there's no mention of that on the call. Instead, she mentions epilepsy, which is a neurological condition, not a mental health disorder. Police didn't send a crisis intervention team to the scene because weapons-related calls are highest priority. Saunders explained during that less than informative press conference back in June that there's no way that he would put a nurse in the middle of a knife fight. Unfortunately, police weren't wearing body cameras, so there's no footage of what actually took place on the balcony. However, this is their account. Regis made her way inside the apartment and prevented officers from coming in by holding the door closed. Just seconds later, she began to scale the balcony. She struggled to get to the other side of the unit because there was netting present. Regis lost her balance and then tumbled 24 stories to her untimely death. On August 26th, the Special Investigations Unit cleared law enforcement of any wrongdoing, to the Kirchinskis' dismay.
Disgusting. I'll let Renee make a few statements.
We're totally disgusted with the outcome. We know that they're hiding things and they're not mentioning certain things that happen, and it's not right. It's unjust. And we're not okay with it, and we don't believe them, and that's our true beliefs, and they're saving their so
Interestingly enough, the family did eventually retract their initial assertions that Regis was pushed. They now claim that not enough was done to save her life. The family still wonders, how did Regis manage to evade 6 police officers? What was done to de-escalate the situation? Why was everyone but Regis asked to leave the apartment? On June 29, 2022, the Paquets filed a lawsuit against 5 officers, the City of Toronto, and the Toronto Community Housing for $10 million. The mystery that is Regis's death has probably left her family in a state of perpetual uncertainty. Police misconduct, as it pertains to people of color, is so rampant, it's unlikely that the Kirchinskis will ever consider that law enforcement acted with integrity. This story was unsettling, and there needs to be more steps taken to prevent this sort of tragedy from ever happening again.